What is good, Nio family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with Nio, Tesla, Spy, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward, talk about some big earnings coming out, not to mention some more news about Nio. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moon, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. And the offer ends very soon, in just about 13 days from now. Anyways, for Nio, we have a nice double top leg structure, which could lead to more downside. And this actually favors a test of 4.4, which is going to be coming very soon, in my opinion. But then we'll have to see if Nio gets a bounce or not. But overall, the trend is kind of weak with this double top, and there is a risk of more downside, in my personal opinion. Now, I want to talk about some more data just to remind you guys about some things before I break down the share prices for Spy, Nio, and the others. Nio is showing signs of some downside, by the way, but we'll have to see if we bounce off 4.45. There will be other factors affecting us, though, so I want to talk about that too. Just know that tomorrow there's not really much data coming out. We just have a couple of Fed speakers in the morning, Williams and Bostic, and that's pretty much it. For earnings, I just want to mention we had TSMC announce their earnings, not to mention Netflix. Right now, we actually saw TSMC do relatively well. Their profits have beaten expectations as the AI chip boom is continuing. We actually saw revenue being a beat at about $20.82 billion. That's once again above expectations. However, the net income was uh, actually did relatively well. This ended up being forecast by some extent. We're seeing a lot more, interesting pushes that are coming at least from here. On top of all this, I just want to mention that with good earnings that came out, that's very interesting to witness, and this is good news at least for them. So that's why the share price held up relatively well. Netflix also had decent earnings. The share price is up just a teeny bit in the after hours, kind of flat, a little bit in the green. They actually had better than expected earnings. They beat on EPS. They also beat on revenue. Not to mention, memberships are once again above expectations. Revenue is also up 17% compared to what we saw a year ago, so not bad whatsoever from Netflix. The fear and greed index is currently at neutral. This was just greedy yesterday. Now we're back to neutral. Momentum is still at greed after this little dip that we saw today. The question is, will SPY continue to dip or not? That depends on some levels. And then right now, we're starting to see a little bit more put buying as over the last 5 days on average. There's a little bit more puts being bought than before. Not to mention the fact that the VIX is attempting to break out right here. This is now causing some fear in the markets, and we're starting to see a little bit of a pullback. So as far as Nio goes, Nio is going to likely actually reduce its discounts, which is part of why the share price is dipping. This is for the ET5, the ET5 Touring, not to mention others out there, and also by about for others out there for the ES6 and the EC6 on July 22nd. This is a little bit more bearish news, in my personal opinion, because of the fact that they're going to have to increase selling prices for some of their models. They're going to have to reduce some discounts. And not the best of news, they're trying to do this to improve their gross margins. That's one of the reasons why they're doing this. But I'm just a little bit worried about how this may affect demand. We'll just have to wait and see on this. So we'll see how things go. There's also some new news coming out right over here about how on July 18th, which is today, the power swap station just opened in once again another part of Europe. They have the 16th in Norway. So they're just opening one after another, getting a lot of growth and a lot more exposure. On top of this, Bank of America Securities gave Nio a neutral rating. We also have the price price ratio being kind of flat right now, so it's actually performing very similar to the market. And in terms of seasonality, Fridays are known for being more green about 52.8% of the time. Volume is only at about 36 million, so it's kind of slowing down. That's why we're not as volatile. So, what do I see for the share price? What is my personal opinion? Here is my answer. So, in my opinion, I think that Nio is looking a little bit more bearish. We have a double top leg structure, and this favors a test of 4.4. Once we touch this, we'll be looking for a rebound to 4.6. If we lose 4.4, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 4.25. We'll look for a little bit of a dip and then see what kind of reaction we get off 4.4. On top of this, when it comes to others out there, we have Spy. Spy is also once again on a bit of a downtrend right over here, and it's continuing to. It's starting to dip a bit. It's trying to push in the after hours, but I'm going to be very careful. I still think there could be a move to the downside coming because of how this trend is looking, especially when you look at bigger time frames. So, in my personal opinion, the most important supports are two levels. We have 550 as one support. This is where we had previous resistance, and also 548.5. Those are going to be our two next supports. If you lose 548.5, which I still think there's a risk of us kind of like making a lower high and coming down a little bit lower to test it, but we have to watch to see if we get a big bounce off 548.5. If we bounce off that, we could see a rebound on SPY. If we reject and start dipping lower, we'll be looking for a big rug pull all the way down to the lower 540s if we lose 548.5. So watch this 550 support. Neo's gonna not Neo Spy is gonna likely try to rebound tomorrow morning. But watch and see if we can try to get back above 556 or not. That's gonna be our 50 EMA. We're quite a distance away from that. So look for a little rebound. We might get very close to 555.6 and it's almost 556. And see if we get a rejection to lower levels or not. That's going to be another very, very key level. So we'll just have to see how things end up going from here. Look for a little rebound in the morning and see a little rejection and see if we hold 550 or not. If not, look for 548.5 and then see if we get a bounce off one of those levels. I'll be waiting very patiently as well. For Nvidia is on a bit of a downtrend right here. We had this high here. We made a lower high. We made a lower high right here. And we're just continuing to dip. But what's good is we tested our 4-hour 200 EMA and we're seeing buyers defend that. So I think Nvidia is going to try to rebound to about 123.8 tomorrow to 125. I think 123.8 is looking more probable, and we'll see if we get a rejection off that or not. But look for a little push tomorrow morning and see how we end up reacting to this resistance. We could still reject and just continue to consolidate within this range. For Bitcoin, we've been dipping a bit. I think we might get closer to about the 62,500 area if we fail to hold above 64,000. So watch for a big test right there, and we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get. For the QQQ is dipping a little bit. Going to be looking for 472 as our major support. We have resistance at 481. If we break through this, we're going to be looking for 485. So watch those levels very carefully. We could be establishing a lower high on the QQQ and continuing to dip. The downtrend is still here on the triple Q, but just know that we'll be watching some key levels. So look for a rebound to then balance at 485 tomorrow. I think we might be testing that. And then we'll have to see if the QQQ ends up rejecting or not. So be very, very patient nonetheless, and we'll just have to give this some time. For Apple's dipping a little bit. Look at resistance at 226. If you reject her, we're going to be coming back down. If we hold above that, then yes, we could try to rebound a bit as well. 222 is the key support because that's where our daily 20 EMA happens to be. Look for a little rebound in the morning, then see what kind of reaction we get. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're barely holding the 4-hour 20 EMA at 218. If we do rebound, look for 220's resistance. And if we lose this, we'll be tipping all the way down towards about this gap fill towards 213 if we fail to hold above 218. So watch 218. I think we're going to be seeing some consolidation. We may get a little rebound back up towards 220 in my opinion. And then we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get from there. So look for a little rebound and see if you reject or not. Let me go over just a couple more just real quick. Amazon's trying to rebound. I think we might be retesting previous resistance, which is now our previous support becoming resistance at 186. If it rejects there, it's going to be coming back down. If it holds this, we could be making a move back up to 188. So give it some time. Meta is trying to rebound a bit. Make sure you watch 485 as resistance. We could attempt to rebound, so watch and see. And then we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get. For Microsoft, we're trying to rebound a little bit. I think that's 440 is the current level that we ended up closing at. I think this imbalance is going to fill towards 445. So look for a little bit more upside. I think we could push a little bit higher, but then see if we get a rejection or not from there. Google's also kind of rebounding. I think we could be retesting 181 and we'll see if you reject or not, but look for a little rebound on that. And lastly, we have just two more. GameStop is looking kind of bearish. It was trying to rebound, but it could be forming a cup and handle. So there could be a temporary dip coming all the way back down towards support. If we fail to hold above 26, I think we could be retesting 24 before we try to bounce. So look for a little bit of downside and see what kind of reaction we get. AMC has a double top, which is leading to a rejection. I think there's a risk of it dipping towards 5 flats. If that fails us, 4.8 is coming. So for NIO, I see more downside coming. We have a nice double top like structure, and this is favoring a move back down to where we were previously. So I see some downside is a very, very strong probability. 4.4 could be tested. We'll see if we get a bounce or not. So we'll just have to give this some time. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, guys, and peace out.